Thank you for your curiosity. With us today in the goddamn room, he is a BJJ player and he's already doing super fights. This guy is out here just trying to kill everybody. He's coming for everybody's neck, apparently. I don't know how they feel in the Northeast right now, but with us in the goddamn room is Bassel Bashjawish. I said that correctly.
Yeah, Bassel Bashjawish. Yep, you got it.
There you go. I got it, baby. That's what we're doing in the goddamn room today is with Bash. Bash, we're going to call him Bash throughout the entirety of the pod. That's his brand right now. That's what people generally call him, so we're going to go with Bash. Bash, how you feeling today, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I woke up. I'm excited. Thank you for having me on. I've definitely been looking forward to this opportunity. So let's get rolling.
Yeah, brother. I think you might have been the most anticipated guest for a while. So everyone was like, "Yo, when you have Bash on, I was like, "Well, Bash has like multiple competitions, and I'm not trying to stop that flow. I need to leave him the hell alone until he gives me like enough space in between competitions where I can be like, let me get Bash on now." So I'm happy you're here, man. I'm so excited to have you. You're probably the most anticipated guest I've had thus far, which is insane because I've had some amazing guests so far. But this is awesome, brother. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, Bash. So I start the pod with the same question, and I know a lot of people, they're like, this doesn't really matter. But to me, I do have the strong belief that in order to understand the present and catch a glimpse of the future, we kind of have to visit the past for a brief second just to kind of catch a little something in there. So what were you like as a child?
I was pretty laid back. You know, I had my friend group. I wasn't like a popular kid. I was actually very skinny back then too. I wasn't like a fighter. I wasn't very confrontational with people. I was like that quiet kid that sits in a corner of the lunchroom, you know. But I have like my certain group of friends. I had a good childhood growing up, you know, growing up in Westchester, Upper Westchester and Yorktown Heights. So it's been pretty laid back childhood, nothing really crazy, you know, just average Westchester high school kid, you know. I had my friends, but I wasn't really popular. I didn't really get popular until like my senior year when we threw this major house party, but that's another story.
Oh, now we got to know about the house party for sure. Now I got to know where that came from. But so you went through kind of just being a very relaxed person.
Yeah.
How did you go from that? And then we got Bash now. That's because that's what the branding is. That's what they go by. You explained to me why they call you Bash, but how did that nickname originally start? Like, who started it?
So actually, my girlfriend started it. I met her in August. I actually met her at Legends. Martial arts, funny enough. That worked out perfectly. So obviously my last name is Bashjawish, and a lot of people have trouble pronouncing my last name, so it's be like, you call me Bash, you know, Bash is cool. I also like bashing people's heads in now, right? So it kind of goes together. So actually, I have another nickname. Funny enough, not a lot of people know this, but when I coach kids class, the kids call me Coach Nacho. Coach Nacho, yeah. So the way I got that nickname was I started working at the UFC gym in Mayopac when I started training there, and my coach was like, "Oh, we need a nickname for you," and I was like, "Well, in kindergarten they used to call me Nacho. I don't know why. You know, as kids we make stupid nicknames with each other. Then I like nachos back then, whatever. So the kids would call me Nacho, and that only lasted like 2 years. But like, all these years later, my coach was like, "We need a nickname for you." I'm like, "Oh, well, they used to call me Nacho." So I either go by Coach Nacho with the kids, and people at the gym call me Bash.
That's awesome. I imagine Adam probably was like, "All right, cool, fuck it."
Adam said actually I have to deserve the last name Bash for him to call me Bash. He doesn't call me Bash yet. He said I have to earn it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get there.
Wow.
Yeah. He said that to me like maybe a month or two ago. It's pretty recent.
Yeah, Adam is very he's a true, when we talk about that true BJJ lineage, when we're talking about those guys that came up like in the toughest circumstance of jiu-jitsu, Adam
he's
and
definitely
Mike
one
belong in that class, but Adam is definitely, I think, the more hardcore in that individual aspect,
for sure,
which I love. And his professor, Wade Rome, the guy that gave him his black belt, I love that he said it. He said, "I want my legacy to be that I have a bunch of kind-hearted, or not kind-hearted, but like very kind people that are also killers, and that like I help them all become who they were meant to be." And I was like, dude, I know one right now sitting in Briar Cliff Manor who's an absolute murderer, but is the kindest human being
he is
in the world. So it worked out really well. But let's talk about your journey, because you said that you were in the UFC gym in Mayopac, right? That was
Mayopac.
Mayopac. My apologies. Wow, Mayopac. What a beautiful place.
Yeah, right.
It's so nice. I went there once and I was shocked. I was like, this is Westchester? I grew up in Yonkers. I'd never seen people like this nice ever in my life.
Yeah. People up here are very nice. Like that's why, like as a kid, I never got into street fights or anything. like my friends would get into fights, but I was never a confrontational person. I'd always try to de-escalate the situation. Still to this day, I've never been in an actual street fight. Funny enough, so like me getting into jiu-jitsu was like a whole new world when I first started. But that's what I found out that worked for me. We'll get into that.
Yeah, no, brother, knock on wood. I already knocked on for you. I hope you're doing. You're not missing out on much. I got into a ton of them, especially here in Yonkers, man. I got jumped a lot. I got into a bunch of fights, and
I'm sure, yeah.
it didn't add anything to my life. It might have shortened it, actually. So I'm happy that that's not the case, man. So you start in UFC gym in Mayapack as a coach, but where does your jiu-jitsu journey start? Talk to me about those seeds that get planted when it comes to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I played sports as a kid, right? I was doing I played baseball. I played it all. I played baseball, soccer. Soccer I played most. I played it for 4 years from like the middle of like sixth grade of middle school to ninth grade in high school. So in high school, after I did soccer, I wanted to join the baseball team again because I played baseball when I was younger. So I tried out 2 years in a row, didn't make it, right? I was super upset, but it is what it is. Then I started working anyways. So because my dad actually started owning the 7-Eleven here in Yorktown, so I was working for the fam, of course, and I didn't really have time to play sports anymore. But I had this one friend when I was in a high school, when I was a senior in high school. He'd be like, yo, come to training, doing MMA and jiu-jitsu full time. And he told me and one of my other buddies just to come try out a class. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come by. Like, I was like, why not, learn some self-defense. So I went to the class, I was looking at the schedule, and I was like, oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, that sounds cool. I thought it was just cool because of the name. I was like, oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, oh, I want to do whatever the fuck that is. So I did my first class there, and the coach was like, he's like, yo, you're really flexible, and he's like, you could be good at this. And I remember he said that word for word to me the first day I did that class, and that really stuck with me, I started training there. I was only there about an hour, 3 days a week, so like every week I was only getting like 3 hours of training. So I was at that gym, and it was really 5 minutes down from my house too, so it was perfect, right? So I was there for about 2 years until I couldn't afford it anymore. It happens. MMA gyms, jiu-jitsu gyms, they're expensive, especially when you're young and you don't really have that much money. But my mom was nice enough to help me out with it for as long as she could. But then she's like, you're on your own now, so I couldn't afford it anymore. So it happens, right? So I took 2 years off. Not 2 years. I was off for like a year and a half. So from the middle of like 20 to 20, I wasn't training at all. And I was trying to find a new gym. I kept like actively searching, trying to find a new gym that I could afford and that I would like, but I never found one. So 20 comes along. I see my cousin post on Instagram, UFC gym opening up in Mayapack. He was one of the owners actually. So I hit him up and I was like, oh, when are you guys opening? He's like, most likely in November of 2010. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I'm definitely want to be a part of that. So I went to the UFC gym. I started training there full time. I got back into jiu-jitsu. It took me a little while to get back into it, get to the groove again. So I was training I was a white belt I was there for a year. But starting to compete, my coach, which was Damian Roberts, a lot of respect for the guy. He's the one that really got me into competing, and I'll always appreciate that. Appreciate him for that. He really motivated us. He was telling us how it feels to win and how much of a different role jiu-jitsu is when you do compete. And I think I was a white belt there for 3 months, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a tournament just like my coach said. I was like, fuck it, why not, right? So I did. My first tournament was the Grappling Industries in New York City. It was a round robin, so you get 4 matches. So I did my first 2 matches and I lost. No problem. I still felt good. I did my third match and I ended up winning with my triangle. Oh, to backtrack, the reason why the triangle is so big for me, the first submission I ever learned from the old gym when I first used to train at that I was just telling you about, the first submission I learned was a triangle. And that's when the coach said, oh, you're really flexible and good at this. And I was like, oh, really? Cool. So my first tournament win was obviously a triangle. And the second I got my hand raised, I felt just the rush of energy, excitement. I'm like, wow. I was like, this is an amazing feeling. Getting your hand raised and winning. I love this. I could get used to this. So as a white belt, that 1 year I competed at least, I want to say between 8 to 10 times, just that 1 year alone as a white belt. So I was a white belt for a year there. I got my blue belt in December of 20. So I got my blue belt. I was super happy. I was like, I'm starting to make progress in my jiu-jitsu. So then I was a blue belt. I've been a blue belt for 6.5 years, I think now. After I got my blue belt, I did a tournament a month after, and it was a whole different ball game. When you compete at white belt to competing at blue belt, it's different because you're either gonna go against a blue belt or you're going against an almost purple belt, and you really don't know, right? Because you just get thrown into it. Same as a white belt. You're either gonna go go against a white belt or you're going against an almost blue belt. You know, I tell that to everybody. I'm like, don't be discouraged if you get a new belt and you don't want to compete. Go out there, compete, and see, and you're gonna get better throughout time. You know, I got destroyed as a blue belt my first couple competitions. I got absolutely destroyed, but it's a learning progress, right? So eventually I started to get the hang of it. I was getting wins here and there. Then what happened? So like, a couple years later, I slowed down on the competitions, especially as blue belt, because I started to get defeated a lot. And this one time I was unable to physically compete. I actually collapsed when I was walking off the mat one time, and I just felt absolutely defeated. Like all my tournaments, I'm not winning, I'm getting smashed. I collapsed on the floor after one of my matches. I felt very defeated at one point, and I ended up taking a year and a half off of competing. And that was about 2 years ago, right? So COVID happened in 2020. I was at the UFC gym all the way up until then. The UFC gym closed in 2020, so I had to switch gyms. So I took, obviously no one was training, right? We're all out. I was out for 3 months. Those 3 months ended up giving me back problems, actually, like out of nowhere. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was from just the sudden stop of training and working out, where everything like in my body just like fell apart, you know. I ended up getting minor arthritis in my lower back, and I had a lot of lower back problems. I think I was like 25 at the time. So after the 3 months, like I went to the doctor. I was starting to do stuff for my back. I went to the chiropractor. They told me I had a flat feet too, so I got like special soles for my shoes. And that helps me out. Now I go to a chiropractor at least once every month. I try to, especially before a big comp or super fight. So after COVID, like 3 months into COVID, actually, I found out, Mateo Martinez. Yeah, so he had a gym down the street from the UFC gym in Mayopac as well. And I found out he was doing training. I was like, oh, word, I want to train. Like in the middle of COVID, I was like, say less, let's go. So I hit him up. I made sure it was cool with my coach Aries from the UFC gym. By the way, Aries will always be my coach in my mind. He's the one that like really helped me a lot, especially with my wrestling. I had to change my whole game. Like I went from, as a white belt, I was a very defensive player. I was a guard player. I'd pull guard. I wasn't doing much takedown, stuff like that, you know. That's expected as a lot of white belts, you know. You're trying to find your game. So Aries really helped me explore out the box, especially after I got my blue belt. So that year and a half I took off. Actually, sorry, let me finish from where I was. So I went to Mateo's gym, right? So I was there for a while. He ended up having to shut down his gym, and he started teaching at ECU in White Plains. So I was at ECU for as long as he was there. I think it was about a year. And those guys are great because there was a lot of high-level belts there, brown belts, black belts, purple belts, you know. So my level of jiu-jitsu really skyrocketed when I joined ECU as well. And I always be grateful for those guys. Coach Jojo, he was an amazing coach. All the coaches was there. And but, you know, unfortunately, Mateo had to leave, and they were, like, honoring the price I was paying at his gym. So once he left, I had to pay their regular membership, which I, of course, couldn't afford anymore, right? So I had to leave. So then I stopped training for, like, 2 months because now I have to find a new gym again. Luckily, Aries from the UFC gym hit me up. He was like, hey, I'm opening up my own gym soon. I want you to be a part of it. I was like, bro, say less. You know, I'm there 100%. So my coach Aries opened up his gym up here in Mayopac, and I joined. So I stopped competing at this point, right? So I'm not competing. And I told Aries, I was like, I really want to work on my game and start competing again. Like, I miss it. I was only off for like 7-8 months at this time of competing. But he's like, we'll take some time, get you ready, and I'll let you know when you're ready to compete. So we worked on my whole game. We changed. My wrestling was a big issue when I was a white belt. I had zero wrestling as a white belt, right? Aries really helped me out with my wrestling as a blue belt. I think wrestling is very important in jiu-jitsu nowadays because you got like wrestlers doing jiu-jitsu, and now you need the jiu-jitsu guys to do wrestling so we understand how they both go hand in hand, right? So the wrestling was a big part of my game now. So I started doing more takedowns, more like pressure passing, staying calm. That's a big thing too, is staying calm. Because every white belt, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, we always make fun of the spazzy white belts. I could say 99% of white belts are spazzy white belts, right? I was a spazzy white belt as well. But when you get your blue belt, you really learn how to control your breathing and just stay calm in certain situations. You know, I could be stuck in a triangle for 30 seconds and stay calm instead of freaking out and tapping right away when they don't really have the submission on. So the wrestling was a big part of the game. And so I told Aries last February, I was like, hey, I want to do a competition in August of last year. And he's like, all right, we're going to get you ready. So we started training hard, like the end of July, like the grappling program at his gym, like it slowed down a bit. No one was really showing up. I was like the only one. So it was a little upsetting. You know, I wasn't really getting the rounds I needed. But it was just like, hey, I got this. He told me about Legends, right? He told me that he trained at Legends, and he was like, hey, I'm gonna send you to Legends because I know you want to compete and still do jiu-jitsu. So he sent me down to Legends for the first time. This is beginning of August of last year, and I did my first class there, and I was like, wow, I could really get used to this gym. Like Adam greeted me with open hands, Davila greeted me with open hands, everyone there, super friendly. I got some really good competitive rolls in, and I was like, damn, this is the type of training that I need. So me and Aries agreed that I'd be there full time training. Aries covered my membership actually, while I was like, I would teach kids classes at his gym, right? So I was doing the kids class, but instead of paying me for the kids class, he would just pay for my Legends membership. And I was like, bro, that's perfect for me, right? So I'm training and I get to teach what I love the most to kids as well. So I started training full time. I did that comp. I ended up winning 2 out of 4 matches. And the 2 matches I did win was like, I dominated it. You know, I think I won by 1 point and 1 by submission. I think I got a triangle. Yeah, of course, got a triangle on him. So ever since then, I've been at Legends here full time. I've been my level of jiu-jitsu really skyrocketed since I joined. I've been winning a lot of my my fights. I started getting back into my super fights again, and here we are. And I got some fights coming up that I'm getting ready for. I'm training, and we'll get into that though. But that's basically the backstory of how I got into jiu-jitsu and where I am now. And we're gonna see what the future holds for me. You know?
Yeah, brother, that shit is dope, man. I'm happy to see it, and I'm happy to hear it. That's fucking phenomenal. Because you are a BJJ blue belt right now, and you're constantly training, and I'm seeing you compete. Like this last year, you picked up a lot of competitions.
So many, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw you made a post about that too. You were like, "Damn, 10 years! Like this is gonna be fun."
10 years is a long time. I remember it's like 10 years, but I also had like, you know, the little breaks in between, but it happens. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's not uncommon. But
You know,
in those 10 years though, what do you think has changed the most about your game?
I'm attacking more for sure. You know, I was all my white belt career and beginning of my blue belt, I was very defensive. I was a guard player, not really attacking. I was just hunting the triangle. Obviously, it was successful because a lot of my tournament wins are triangle wins. And like I'm not a cocky person, but like I'm kind of cocky when it comes to my triangles. I'm good at it. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone says it. No one denies it. I just lost my train of thought. What was the question again? Sorry.
It's all good. I was asking you over the last 10 years, what do you think has changed the most about your game? You said that you're big on attacking. Is there anything else that you noticed about your game that, because you talked about wrestling, and now that you've brought it up, that is a heavy increase in wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Wade Rome was on, he's a 4th degree black belt, and he was saying it. He's like, we're seeing it much more now that the jiu-jitsu guys are wrestling. You need it. It's very much necessary for your ground game. If you don't have any wrestling, you're just not going to beat the guys at the top of the divisions. So
you know, especially as not even just like competing, but as self-defense, going against a guy twice your size, you're gonna want to know wrestling and how to control that person, right? And, like, luckily, I've beaten guys twice my size, and whether it was training or competition, like now I'm not scared. I could go to a guy that's 200 pounds and not be scared. You know, before as a white belt, I'd be like, oh geez, no, thank you, right? So as a self-defense aspect, it's very important to learn wrestling and how to control people bigger than you, especially with the pressure passing. You know, just take your time. You don't gotta rush.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. A lot of the beginners, they get so excited to try to pass that they do something a little.
Yeah, they get too spazzy. They open up too much, and when you're spazzy and you get excited like that, that's how you hurt yourself or you hurt your training partner or whatever. You know, it happens. What are you gonna do? And my takedowns are a big thing that I've been really working on as well. I used to have 0 takedown game as a white belt in like beginning of my blue belt career. But then I started getting good at my double legs. I went from double legs to single legs to go high crotch, take the back, you know. So now I have an array of takedowns that I'm good at that I've been practicing. So my takedown confidence definitely went up as well. And hey, during comp, takedowns 2 points. 2 points is 2 points. You got to get as much points as you can.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of the younger competitors don't really think of. Like, I prefer sub only because...
Oh yeah, nowadays me too.
Yeah, because I've been a fan of points for a long time, and coming from a wrestling family, like I love wrestling. I love the point system there. It's changed this year for the NCAA finals. It was really dramatic and amazing at the same time. But when you watch a sub-only competition, you can see 2 people trying to go for the kill, and that's just a different level of jiu-jitsu altogether.
Exactly, yeah. It's more high intensity, right? because you both want to win. You know, you don't have to really focus on points, so you could play your game. Like, so it's sub only. Like, I'll play my game, like my guard game, a little bit more. But I'm staying active. You know, I'm busy. I'm attacking, and like, luckily, I don't have in the back of my head. I'm like, oh damn, I'm down 7 points. I'm gonna lose. Like, that's not going through my head anymore. I don't have to focus on that. I'm just focusing on what position I am and how I can advance myself to a better position or attack a submission.
Yeah, I can't keep the points in my head. My brothers would wrestle and remember the exact points that they were at. And I'm a cheater. I will look up at the board and be like, what the hell am I at? And my brothers would mid-wrestle. They'd come back to the corner in between the periods and be frustrated that they were down by 1 point. And I used to be like, how the hell are you keeping count of the points when you're doing that much movement? Because, you know, they were very light weights. So these guys would just hit the ground, hit the mat, brawl, go over, roll around, try to go for the takedown, go for the shot, miss the shot, then have to get back up on their base, then get back from base to back to your feet, then get them off you. I mean, it's when you watch those type of transitions, I do feel bad because the average fan of mixed martial arts doesn't understand it. But everyone that grapples, when we see these crazy exchanges, we're like, ooh, and you're kind of like, this is crazy. And then there's the one jackass who's never seen grappling before that's like, boo, punch him in the face. Or we're like, no, shut up. Just watch.
It's a good fight. Yeah.
Yeah, you're watching something beautiful. Just be in there with me. So let's get back to where we're at. And you're very proud of your Palestinian roots, and you should be.
100%.
Because y'all are freaking strong as hell. I've been wrestling with them my whole life. Here in Yonkers, especially.
Oh yeah, big Palestinian community in Yonkers. Like half of, actually, like all my mom's side lives in Yonkers. So there's big Palestinian community down there for sure.
Yeah, the Palestinian, the Jordanians, and a few other families from that area. Like a lot of those
Syrian,
folks here.
Egyptian, there's a lot.
They're very close knit, very, very awesome to be around them. They're always bringing me food. Thank God, they're nice to me. They like me.
That's good.
But we have a lot of these combat athletes here in Westchester.
That's actually my cousin. Ibrahim.
Yeah,
Ibrahim. So he trains animals. Yeah. He's not my first cousin, but he's like, we call everybody our cousins. I think he's like my second or third cousin or whatever. But his mom was actually at my house not too long ago, funny enough. So we're close with his family. So it's nice seeing a lot of Palestinian fighters going out there, especially what's going on in the Middle East right now. We're lucky to live the life that we have and that we're not over there. Thankfully, we'll always be grateful for that. But to go out on the mats and fight for our country, it's a good feeling, especially when we win, right? Because we're showing how tough the Palestinians are and that we're never going to give up, win or lose. We're going to be here, we're going to be here forever, and we're going to fight to the death.
Yeah, I was just going to ask what contributes to that, but that's pretty much what I've seen in a lot of y'all's fights. And funny enough, Ibrahim and I went to the same high school and middle school together, so I've known Ibrahim since.
Oh, so you know him too, yeah. Small world, right?
And his brother, who was older than me. And I used to chase after Ibrahim to kick his ass. And his brother used to just pick me up.
Yeah.
My move would just grab me. No, daddy. I'd be like, what? And he's like, if you hit my brother, I'm going to hit you back. And I was like, that's not fair, bro. You're bigger. And he would laugh. And don't pick on my poor brother. And I'm like, no, because your brother would be starting shit with me. We'd be talking shit to each other. And it's true. We talk the infinite amount of shit. But it was always joking. It was always out of love.
Of course. I'm like that with my friends too.
Yeah. And I saw Ibrahim really come out of his shell when he started wrestling. That's when we started to see like, oh, shit. This dude is tougher than we look.
Something, yeah.
Because he was the kid that was in tech crew with us. He used to work on the stage. He was very technically proficient, way ahead of everybody else. His understanding of things was so much better. And his brother, of course, was in the robotics program. So these two dudes were very intelligent and very athletic. And then we started watching him wrestle. And then we went, oh, shit, the kid's a monster.
They don't want him, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he went, when he was in NCAA, he was an All-American at least once. I think 1 or 2 seasons.
I didn't even know that, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Your cousin is the kind of guy you don't want to meet on the mats. The guy's a phenomenal wrestler. And when he reps Yonkers, especially when he had the Yonkers rash guard, the singlet, excuse me. Rash guard is everything I know now. But the singlet, he's had the big Yonkers on it because we used to be one whole city team because there weren't enough wrestlers in all the different schools. Yeah. So that was always really dope for us to see these guys representing. I do have to ask this question because an unnamed source came to me with this question.
I think I know.
Yeah, I think you do too. They stated, how do you eat nothing but trash and have such bad eating habits and get to have an 8-pack despite eating like an inmate in death row hours before execution?
Man, that goes into detail, yeah. So my girlfriend actually definitely Excellent question. I think I just got lucky. It's funny when you sent me the list of questions and I read that, I was dying laughing. I knew exactly who asked that question. So I think just like as a kid, like I was skinny as a kid. I always had a 8-pack. Funny enough, I still do. You know, I was working out as a kid. I didn't really start working out until what year was it? 20, I think. Yeah, I think around 2011, 2012. That's when I started like going to the gym and stuff. But I think it was just the fact that I had a very fast metabolism. And I was athletic, you know, I was playing sports. I did start jiu-jitsu. I think that really helped a lot. I don't know, I just got lucky, you know. I can't really answer that question. It's true though. I eat a bunch of junk food. I'm never on a meal plan. Even when I weight cut, bro. Like, I'll weight cut. I'll eat a fucking burger and fries 3 days in a row. Not actually, but, you know, hypothetically speaking. Like, I'll eat it 3 days in a row the week of comp. I'll cut weight like 2 days before, and I'll still make weight. And I still have an 8-pack. Absolutely insanity. I think I just got lucky with my genes and my fast metabolism.
Brother, some of us are just gifted. We should take full advantage of it. I'm not even mad at that. Like, I
was super happy with it. I can't complain.
I couldn't imagine it, and I think that's fucking dope that you don't have to go through that, because the stress of a weight cut for me and my family, my brothers, we used to cut weight. We cut weight over a 2-week period because we didn't want to be like super dehydrated the day of competition. Ooh. So we'd slowly get down there. And then during the wrestling season, we wouldn't, after we rehydrate, we'd have a scale. We'd rehydrate only about 10 or 12 pounds over. We wouldn't go past that point. So we'd spend the majority of the wrestling season dehydrated. And then once the wrestling season was over, we'd go right back up to our regular weight and then start crushing people. And I'm happy that you mentioned the weight cut isn't like a problem for you, because like, thank God you don't have to go through that freaking process, man, because that's
like, even when I do weight cut, like I don't have to go through the whole, 2-week before thing. I'll do like a week before. I've done that. Most of it, like, because I'm not cutting 10 pounds, right? Because I fight at, but I walk around. Well, I used to walk around, so I was just fighting at my natural weight. I'm a little bit heavier now because I'm older, right? So I'm walking around like, so when I do cut weight, it's only 5-7 pounds, right? So it's not too much. A lot of it's just water weight. I'll go sit in the sauna for fucking 2 days and I'll make weight.
That's how it should be done now, especially with the current, what we're seeing. And I think one of the guys that's a pioneer for that, I'm hoping to have him on the pod, is Ben Askren. And Wade Rome was telling me, he's like, we were talking to Wade and his brother, and they would go compete in much lower weight classes and not do as well. But then they would cut 5-10 pounds and compete closer to their weight, their walk-around weight, and then start smashing dudes. So I was like, damn, that makes a lot of sense. Because even though you're giving up the size advantage, your brain is the last thing to get your hydration back up. Your brain is the last one to get the fluids back, and it's the first one to lose it the minute you start cutting. So it's like, damn, that's really tragic.
Yeah, that's why I always wanted to go down to, like, I always told myself I'm gonna go down to, but I never did. And it is hard for me to lose weight. Like, I could cut weight, sure, but I can't like actually lose weight. You know what I mean? The lowest I've been is like in the past like 3 years. The lowest I've been was I haven't been under that in over 3-4 years. And it ended up just molding with me, and I'm still getting wins. Like a lot of the guys in my division, like some of them will be coming down to sure. Like I actually got smashed last year at one of the tournaments. It was recent. I won my matches, but it was like my last match, and this kid he told me he was collegiate wrestler. He dropped down to 11, is in my division. I was like, oh, fuck me. So we start the match. We're clinching up. He gets a hold of me. I was like, oh, he's gonna fucking destroy me. He whooped my ass in like 30 seconds, and I think I forgot he got like a choke on me, so I tapped whatever. But I've been getting used to my weight class. I'm winning in my weight class. I'm putting good fights in my weight class. I really learned how to evolve a division, and I think this is the division that works best for me. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I go against guys bigger than me, the guys that cut weight. But that's what jiu-jitsu is for, right? You're learning how to beat guys twice your size. It shouldn't matter how big your opponent is. So it never really bothered me. And going down to like, it would be nice, but at the same time, I don't want put my body through that stress, because that's gonna be a lot of stress, and then I have to get used to a new lighter weight, and I'm gonna feel like less dehydrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with jiu-jitsu competitions being the same day weigh-ins, you really don't want to dehydrate yourself too much. That's what a lot of wrestlers would do.
Exactly.
By the time you go wrestle, you have maybe 4 brain cells left, and I remember those feelings. And I remember watching my brothers like dying on the scale. That have to get like ass naked to make the weight, and then jump off the scale and start to rehydrate, and like 4 hours later be on the mat and destroying people and stuff. But after the show, that's what people don't talk about. We'd go have something to eat. One of my brothers would get a nosebleed every time. One of my other brothers, I think, got a concussion mid wrestle because he just didn't have enough fluid in his body. And that's something that I've been trying to, I don't think that people shouldn't cut weight, but if you're going to cut weight, get the dietitian, go through that process.
Yeah,
and
do it the right
slowly
way.
cut.
Do it the right way.
Because we're seeing a lot of that now in jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
and in MMA. We're getting guys who are now training like professional athletes, now eating like professional athletes, which is great. It's giving us something more to add value to this product.
Do what you got to do what they're comfortable with, I wouldn't go out your
whatever
comfort zone. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's different for everybody. Different for everybody.
Because some guys can cut that weight and it's nothing to them, especially for wrestling. Wrestling has a very deep lineage of cutting weight. Like my brothers would cut 35 pounds to wrestle, and I was like, no, go screw yourself.
I would never. I barely want to cut 10 pounds when I have to.
I don't blame you, brother. The biggest weight cut I did, I think, was 23.5 pounds. I promise you, I did think I was dying. I was like, death is knocking on my door right now.
I'll die after 5 pounds.
Brother, that was brutal, man. And I was
sure I didn't want to know.
My brothers were trying to my brothers had to drag me, 2 of my brothers on one side, 2 of my brothers on the other side. And what we used to do that old school, a hot shower with the Epsom salt, and you'd kind of just sit in there and soak. And then my brothers
jump back in.
Yeah, they'd drag me out, put me under all the covers, and then I'd sweat there while they did the shower all over again. And they'd redo the shower and they'd turn it up. They had a thermometer. They knew that my brothers had it down to a science because they had done it so many years. And that was the first time I was like, you know what? Let me try this crazy ass weight cut just once, just so I know what it feels like. And the video of Chris Cyborg, I don't know if you've ever seen it, when she's cutting weight and she's crying. She's got the gospel music on, and people are like, "Oh, that's dramatic." And I'm like, "No, it's not." She literally feels her soul.
It is. Yeah,
that's terrifying, brother. So I'm happy that you don't have to go through that process, and you get to just go and smash motherfuckers and have a great time with it. But I did want to ask you something because you talked about it earlier. What's up with this party senior year? What happened here?
Yeah, so senior year, it was one of my friend's birthday coming up, and I was like, we're at my friend's house sitting in the basement, and I was like, oh, let's throw a birthday party, right? Birthday party. It's supposed to be a birthday party. We never attended it to get as big as it did. So I was actually a DJ. I was a DJ at the time. I like DJing. I would do it on the side. So I told my friends, I was like, oh, let's throw a party for Tim. So we invited a couple friends, but one of those couple friends that we invited another 100 people from the school. So, and I was like, so we planned a date, right? We invited whoever we invited. I thought 20 people were gonna show up. I pull up to my friend's house with my DJ equipment. I got there early, by the way, right? And there was no parking on the fucking street. I was like, what the fuck are all these cars doing here? So I park. I go into my friend's house. This shit is fucking packed, bro. I'm getting my DJ equipment set up. Everyone's showing up. There's maybe at least 100 people there. 75 to 100 people from my school. We're all downstairs fucking partying. We threw a major house party. Ended up being a dope night. No one called the cops. It literally went down as one of the most successful house parties in Yorktown, for sure. Because a lot of the house parties up here, you get your nosy neighbors that want to sleep. A lot of old people here too, because you're in this town's predominantly a rich white town, It is what it is, right? So you have a lot of old people, and a lot of house parties don't really last that long, or they call the cops or whatever. For some reason, no one called the cops. We partied all fucking night. So we wrapped up that party. We went to school the next day, or that week after that weekend, and everyone was just coming up to us, yo, that was a dope party. When's the next one? Blah blah blah. All right. So a month later, we're like, oh dude, let's plan another party. Now that we know everyone's down and how successful the first one was, the second one got out of hand. Everyone heard how good and how fun the first one was, right? So when we pulled off the second one, way too many people showed up to the house. Way too many. We had to start kicking people out, and started to get to the point where no one was listening and things were getting out of hand. So we had to shut down the whole party, and we cooked everybody out. But it was super legendary, the 2 parties that we did throw, and that's what really started to get us recognition in the school, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I was a senior at the time too, so it was cool. It was fun.
Damn. Yeah, but it always gets out of hand at some point, and that's hysterical. But hey, man, at least you guys had that experience, and that's dope. I can't imagine DJ Bash at this point, but you know what? It must have been dope.
Actually, I used to DJ in the city too. You ever heard of Potch NYC? Remember that club?
Yeah.
So I'd actually DJed there too. I did a New Year's party with Borgore. I DJed in the basement, and I I DJ'd like an hour and a half from like 11 to 1 in the morning. So I was big into DJing like my high school and beginning of college. I was really big into it. It's
Damn,
fun.
brother, that sounds dope. Sounds like we had a great time back then, man. Bash,
And
we would have been friends, real good friends too, especially.
I love techno and EDM too. Like I slowed down now, but like I still love going to shows and raves, stuff like that. I love dancing, shuffling. Like I just love getting loose. So when I'm not training and stuff, I'm listening to techno and I'm dancing, having a good time.
Shit, that's the life, brother. That's what we're here to do, is have a good time. But I'm happy to hear that shit. I didn't know that, and I learned something new with you.
Yeah. I was part-time DJ.
Might need to have a DJ bash party one of these days. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'll be sick. I actually went to college for filmmaking. Funny enough, too. Not a lot of people know that as well. So like in high school, I did a TV production. Right, I was like, oh, this sounds like a dope class. So I did that. I learned a lot about like filmmaking stuff. And then when it's time for me to go to college, I was like, I want to do filmmaking in college. So that's what I did. I got some videos up in my YouTube. I'll send it to you. But yeah, filmmaking will always be a special part of me. Like even nowadays, I haven't done it since college. And I've been out of college for a long time now, right? I'll be 29 this year, so I've been out of college for a minute. But filmmaking will always be a part of me. I love it, and the creativity that evolves around it. You can make anything with a camera and your imagination. So that's why I love it.
That's dope, man. Now we got more.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? The filmmaking aspect is definitely one of those things that's dope as fuck. That especially now with the platforms being so important, like podcasting is great, but when you can put something out that's entertaining and you can keep the masses entertained, it's weird, but it's its own level of they call it like its own digital currency or its own digital equity is what they're calling it now.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you're into that specific space, and especially now that you're in jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of opportunity right now. So we're hoping to see, a Bash Productions eventually. We'll see what's going on.
Dope.
That'd be a dope fucking thing to do.
The only thing I stopped, the reason why I stopped filmmaking was just because I couldn't afford a camera, because the camera I was using was like a 2 to 3K camera. They're expensive, bro. I'm not going to buy a 500 camera expecting to make the things I was making in college,
Yeah, I know. The cameras that I have are 4K, but they're not expensive. They were like a little cheaper. They max at 2K, and then they have 4K, but it's only, I want to say it's 25 frames per second, 25 frames per second. It says 30, but it's actually like 25 or 20. So I was like, you know what? I'm good with this camera that I'm using from my computer, and then I'll upgrade to newer cameras once I do more in person and live. Like what I did with Dan. I don't know if you've ever seen the episode with me and Dan. Unfortunately, I messed up the audio.
I saw that, yeah.
But the video was very good. It was seamless. It looked beautiful. I was very happy.
It wasn't grainy. It was clear.
So that's why I was like, you know what? These cameras work for now. Once the pod takes off, we can make some money off of this. Then I can invest into the pod, more microphones, more guests, etc. But
sure,
like filmmaking as a whole, brother, that's one of those things right now that like if you have a knowledge of it, you're pretty much at like the eternal flow of cash flow and the current.
It's unlimited amount of what your imagination is and what you want to make and make it come true.
Absolutely. And we saw the Thriller documentary on Professor Light.
Yeah, that was a great documentary. If you guys haven't seen it, go see it. It's called Thriller, right? It's called Thriller on YouTube.
Yep. Produced by
documentary.
Yeah, man, a phenomenal piece of work. I'm gonna definitely link it into the description of the video. But let's get back to your competitions, brother, and your career, because you competed in Chronic Combat, which to me it feels like a 10th Planet BJJ player's wet dream of being able to get stoned and having people get stoned while you compete. You've also competed in one of my favorite rule sets. I really love the Grappling Industries events, that round robin style tournament.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Overall, what has been your favorite rule set or promotion to compete at this point in your career?
So I like my super fights more now, just because like submission only aspect of it. But like for tournaments and stuff, Grappling Industries is definitely my favorite. Especially over Naga. I've done Naga. I did one recently. I took home second place. But with Naga, it's single elimination, right? So the issue I have with Naga, like as a white belt, like I would sign up, right? I'd drive all the way to fucking Albany. I would do my match. I got destroyed in 1 minute, and then I don't have another fight, right? So I just wasted my time. Like you're not really wasting your time, but like I wasted my time going up there. I paid them money to fight. I only did one fight and it lasted under a minute. Then I don't get to fight again. Now I'm just there for no reason, right? So So, like, I don't really like single elimination, but with Grappling Industries, you're getting at least 4 fights in one day. Or if you do multiple divisions, you get 8 matches, right? So you get more of an opportunity to showcase your jiu-jitsu and a better opportunity to win and place in your division. But for super fights, I love Chronic Combat. I love the submission only and the EBI rule set at overtime. I've never done EBI before. The first time I did Chronic Combat, so actually how I got into the first Chronic Combat was actually totally last minute. So I was actually at the Naga I was just talking about in December. I was at the Naga that day. I think it was a Sunday, and my girlfriend knows the guy that runs Chronic. He actually hit her up because he wanted her to fight because they're looking for more female fights. But she's not really a super fighter yet, right? She doesn't want to do super fights or anything. So I was like, jokingly, I was like, oh, tell him I'll do it. So she did, and they ended up finding an opponent for me the next day, and this was like 5 days before the show, and I was like, let's do it. So that week, that next weekend, I'm at Chronic Combat. I go against my opponent. I ended up winning 5 minutes, of course, via triangle, as always. I ended up winning half ounce of weed, which is fucking dope, right? I was like, honestly, I was like, fuck winning medals and stuff. Winning a half ounce of weed, much more useful, because it's something that I could use instead of hanging on my wall, right? So, Chronic Combat was definitely cool. Then my last Chronic Combat that I did 2 weeks ago, actually, I had a very tough competitor. I knew how good he was going into this fight. But Adam and Davila really helped me how to stay calm and do what I do best, right? So when I was there, I was able to hang in there the whole match. I bought it into overtime. That was my first time doing like EBI rule set in overtime. So EBI, you have to start either back or spider, right? So I chose to defend the back first. So I successfully defended the back. Now it's my turn to take his back. So I took his back. I fucked up on this part because I didn't practice it during training. So I had a body lock on him, right? The body triangle, but I had it on the downside because we're on our side, right? I'm on my left side. I had the body triangle down on the left side. I should have switched my legs to have it facing up on the outside. What he did was he locked down my leg that I had the body triangle on, and it kind of heel hooked myself, and it tweaked my knee. Luckily, my knee didn't rip or didn't. I heard a pop, but it wasn't anything major. But it did force me to tap, unfortunately. But, the performance I had with that match, I was super happy knowing how good my opponent was. I was able to hang in there and fight with him, even get on top at one point. And then, look, at the end, I think he had a triangle himself for like a good 30 seconds. And, bro, I was so high. Like, obviously, it's Chronic Combat, right? So I'm dumb high at this point because I was smoking before I was fighting. And I'm just sitting there in the triangle. I looked at the time, I saw 30 seconds. I'm like, I could hold it out. So I'm just sitting there waiting for the time to go to zero, and it finally did. And we ended up going to overtime, and that happened. But as a blue belt now, I definitely like Grappling Industries and my super fights for sure. Submission only is my favorite.
That's the shit, man. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody starts to learn differently. I watch a lot of the EBI tournaments, so I've noticed that there's like a recipe that the best guys have, which is to like get the most ride time they can get in those earlier rounds, and then toward the end start to go for a sub.
That's why a lot of guys go for the back first. They don't really start in spider.
Right. That's why you see guys like Nicky Rod. Nicky Rod will take your back.
You want ride time.
And it has a whole system that I'm actually trying to learn because I'm like, damn, one of these days I definitely want to do an OT because like when Coach Mike did Jiu-Jitsu OT, they had like a whole tournament. It was Eddie Bravo, and they had overtime rounds only, and then they went 3 rounds, and it was amazing.
But that's in the documentary as well, right?
Yeah, that's what the documentary was. Toward the end, that's the competition. But when I was watching him like prepare for Jiu-Jitsu OT, and we were helping him in the gym, man, the stuff that I learned about that rule set, I was like, whoa, this is intense by itself. You have to compete and then do this shit on a regular EBI? No, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I hadn't. When I did the first Chronic Combat, and I was like, oh, overtime is EBI rule set. I was like, what the fuck is overtime? This EBI rule set? Like, I know Eddie Bravo Invitational. Like, I'm not dumb, right? I just didn't know what the rule set was exactly. But then my coach told me, and we practiced it all that week. Luckily, I didn't have to use it the first super fight. The goal is never to go into overtime. The goal is always to finish your opponent within the time limit. I think my match was supposed to be a 7-minute match. Then overtime, I ended up finishing him in 5 minutes. My last Chronic Combat, though, they had so many fights on the card. I think there was like 20 fights on the card. It was insane. But they had to drop down the matches to 6 minutes. Plus, I think it was 1 round of overtime. So we did the 6 minutes, went to overtime. That's when I first started. That's when I was like, all right, now I gotta do what we learned in training. So I successfully escaped the back. But when he mounted me, but technically it wasn't an escape yet because he had the submission, he had the arm triangle on me, right? So you're it's still live. And so the ref was like, it's still live, keep going. And he had it tight, man. He had that arm triangle tight. But I was not giving up. I ended up getting my elbow out, got my escape, so I was super happy. I was like, this is exactly what we learned. This is what we worked on with my coach, and I executed it, and I was super proud of myself.
That's fucking dope, bro. That's exactly what it should be when you're competing at that level. And when you're trying to escape, like you said, it's still live as long as they can keep the attack going. And I think that's what made that rule set so cool. At least for me, watching it as a fan over the years, like it's just gotten more and more ingrained in my mind that that's what happens in OT. You know, the legendary Barrett Yoshida, who Mike went up against in a previous event for an EBI, they went into OT. It was still live because Mike had the armbar. It was phenomenal. Just an amazing showing. But is there anyone in BJJ that you model your game after? Are there any styles that you look at and you go, yeah, I'm more closely related to that style?
You know, not really. I believe everyone should find what works for them, right? Now, like, I'm still a defensive player, right? But I'm attacking more. But I don't really evolve my jiu-jitsu around what my coaches do or what Gordon Ryan does, you know. Everyone has their own game and what works for them. So I think it's important for guys to just find out what your game is, man. Don't necessarily follow in one's footsteps. Definitely take pointers from everybody that coach you or that you learn from or that you see online or there's Instagram videos. Take pointers and form it into your own game. You know, that was the biggest thing that I did. I wasn't following anyone's footsteps. I was making my own game, and I did. Especially, like, you know, the coaches obviously motivate me to help me out, and I'm doing what they do. But you make your own out of it. You know, you find out what works best for you.
Yeah, man, I agree to some degree. To some degree, I know what you're saying. Like, you got to have your own version of it, and it has to be from you, and it has to be authentic. Got to be like your footprint, your fingerprints. Your fingerprints are unique to just you. What I will say though, I think what a lot of young jiu-jitsu athletes do, they do model their game after someone who is similar to them. Like if you're a visual learner, usually you just look at somebody else's game and go, well, technically I can do those things really well. I should definitely do a little bit more of this.
Yeah, like go watch Craig Jones fights versus Gordon Ryan fights. You know, they're gonna be two different styles of jiu-jitsu, right? So I think you just gotta not mold yourself around one person, but mold yourself around multiple people and interaction and find what works best for you.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But we're looking at the rule sets that you've done so far. Looking into the future, are there any rule sets that you're really interested in competing? And do we eventually get to see Bash at like an ADCC East Coast trial or something?
Yeah, man. You know, so actually, I didn't. So this February was ADCC East Coast, right? I didn't know about it until like the week before, so I was like, well, I can't sign up now. And I had a Grappling Industries that weekend anyways. I think I actually took home third that weekend. But I do want to do ADCC for sure. That is 100% step right now, right? I want to train, get better, do more super fights, do more competitions to prepare myself for ADCC because I know how tough it is and there's a lot of good guys there. And I want to go out there and put on the show, right? I don't want to go out there and get crushed in 10 seconds. So if I have to wait like next year to do the East Coast trials or whenever it is, like, yeah, I'm ready to train hard and get to ADCC hopefully by next year. That's my goal. Next year for sure. ADCC, you'll see me there.
Holy shit, that's gonna be interesting, man. That's really dope, and I'm hoping to see it too. We definitely want to see you over at the ADCC trials, or at least competing in those opens because those things
definitely one of my dreams. Just to try out, you know, not even win and make it to the finals, just to try out. That's like one of my goals right now for sure.
Yeah, you got to test the water at this point and see what it's like. But about your brand,
I
always see you drinking Red
froze,
Bull.
by the way. Your
camera froze. I'm so sorry. Let me see if it.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm just letting you know.
I appreciate it, man. I think it's the fact that we're not going to see it at the same time because it looks like one of us is like 2 or 3% behind. It'll tell you what your upload speed is. And that's the good thing I like about this program. It'll tell me like, hey, give it a few seconds, let it kind of work its way back in. Just make sure that the audio is crisp because you can have a podcast with no video, but you can't have it without the audio. So that's
I still hear you perfectly, so that's good.
We're all set, brother. But about your brand, I always see you drinking Red Bull, right? And now we definitely have to establish that the Bash brand needs to have like a triangle in it because it seems to be your go-to and it seems to be your moniker at this point. That's your area of expertise.
My main move.
Right. And then which, you know, Red Bull would be a great endorsement. And I haven't seen them in the MMA space just yet, but I know they could be in jiu-jitsu at some point as well. You also make Lego sets and you play BJJ. So as a whole, what would you like people to correlate with your brand when they see the Bash brand as a whole? Like, hey, this guy is X, Y, and Z. This brand represents X, Y, and Z.
You know, I just want people to not associate me with one thing, but just know, like, I'm laid back. I'm doing what makes me happy, you know, drinking Red Bull. Like, I work for Red Bull. I distribute it. I actually have a route in Yonkers, funny enough. So I'm always down there delivering Red Bull. I gotta talk to my boss. Maybe I could get sponsored, right? That'd be dope. And like the Legos, it's just fun, you know. It's just like going out there having fun, and that's what I want people to do, you know. It's not always a competition. It's just going out there doing what you love and having fun with what you're doing, and you're enjoying it. And it's not like you're not working, right? I don't consider jiu-jitsu work. I consider it as a fun hobby to do.
That's good to have it in that mindset and to have that frame that way. That, you know, if you do what you love, you never really work a day in your life, and that's one of those things that I think we all have. And I mean, you definitely have a strong work ethic. You know, your dad owned the 7-Eleven and then your Briar area, and you obviously, you know, everybody has to go to work when their parent owns a business. I can speak for that for myself. My dad was very tough, especially
working for families is different. Yeah, working for families is a whole different thing.
Absolutely, and it's tougher. I think sometimes the people don't really get. They think that it's like, oh, it's a nepotism.
It's tough,
like,
man.
No, they're hard on you because you're related to them.
I remember actually one point they were it was conflicting with my training, and I was getting pissed, dude. I was pissed. They wanted me to work, and I was like, fuck no. I have training. Like, I need to go train. Like, I don't want to fucking sit here and work, you know. But it's family, man. You know, you can't like say no to family, but like working with family is it's a good thing, but it's a toxic thing at the same time, you know.
Yeah, I could see it leading to some resentment at some point, and I think that it's not a great thing. Like I have this podcast, and it's just me, and then I have another podcast with my older brother, and our podcast. Oh,
there's the video. Now we got you caught up.
They caught up finally. I'm so happy.
I'm so sorry caught up finally. No, you're good.
Good shit, man. But yeah, my brother and I have our own podcast. We're starting soon, and then my two younger brothers will have their own podcast. So it's like we're going to be doing it as a family. And then, of course, I have my cousins here in Yonkers. I want to get them on the pod as well with me because they're just dope. Their vibe is just awesome. But again, like you said, we're not going to be really working. It's just something that we love to do. And
exactly, it's not work when you love to do it.
Exactly. So that's where I kind of feel the difference works. Because again, somebody whose dad owned a construction company all these years, like it was not for me. That shit was for the birds, to be real with you. But respectfully,
of course,
you know, my pops is the man with that, but I don't want to do that. But now that we've placed ourselves within the next year, you'd like to go to the ADCC trials. And then what do we see over the next 5 years? Like, what can we come to expect from you? Or what do you see yourself in those next 5 years?
You know, I really don't know. The next 5 years, man. I definitely want to hopefully get my purple belt. You know, I've been working hard on that. Obviously, I don't have control of when I get it, right? But, you know, I just got to keep training and prove myself. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job at that. Since August, like all my tournament wins, I've been winning at least one or two of my fights, sometimes three of my fights. I've been winning my super fights, or at least I've been doing like really good and keeping up with it. I do have some tournaments coming up. So April 20th, I got Grappling Industries in Philadelphia. That's going to be super cool. May 18th, possibly going to be back at Chronic Combat for the third time. Let's go. Can't wait for that. Super excited. I did talk to Adam a few weeks ago, so I want to do Men of War eventually also. If you don't know Men of War, if you guys know Dead Serious MMA promotions, you know, like before those guys get to UFC, they fight for Dead Serious. Like Ibrahim, right? Pally Stallion, he fights for Dead Serious in Ring of Combat. So the Dead Serious also runs Men of War, which is the same thing, but for Jiu-Jitsu. It's a super fight, so I'm hoping to get on a Men of War card by the summer, and just keep doing tournaments and super fights this year, and we'll see. We'll just take it year by year, you know?
Yeah, I believe Coach Perez runs Men of War. Really solid human being, and yeah, I know the program that he's running. He's got Dead Serious MMA, which, you know, local Westchester promotion definitely deserves more love. And then, of course, he runs the Men of War, which we've had a few athletes, Marissa Bocelli, several jiu-jitsu athletes have gone to that promotion as well. So I'm happy to hear you're going to do another Chronic Combat, which is going to be lit. Men of War is definitely one of the great ones that we're hoping to see. I'm hoping Rise Invitationals is coming up soon this summer. I would love to have you on man. It'd be dope.
That'll be dope, man. Yeah, I definitely want to start getting into the Invitationals. But I have to put my name out there, right? I got to build my name, I got to build my brand, and that's what I'm currently doing. And especially in the past, since August, I've really been coming up a lot. I've been meeting a lot of new people, a lot of dope people. I'm cool with the Chronic Combat guys now. I train with them on Sundays too. Like on Sundays, I go to Bronx Jiu-Jitsu just to get extra training in. I go to their open mat, and I'm rolling with those guys over there. So anytime I get extra training, I always take advantage of it. And just going out there and meeting people in the Jiu-Jitsu community, it's just super cool. It's good to make new friends, especially in this community, because everyone's like mad chill. Everyone wants to help each other,
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about jiu-jitsu as a community and as a whole. It's not one of those like, oh, if you're getting to this certain level, we don't want to, be around you because now you're coming. I haven't seen that yet, and I'm hoping never to see that. But, guys like the Latin Samurai over in Bronx Jiu-Jitsu, great jiu-jitsu player, always put on a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, actually I have a private lesson with him tomorrow morning, actually, so... Me, him, and my girlfriend are doing a private with the Latin Samurai tomorrow, and then we're doing their open mat as well. They helped me out a lot too. Like my last super fight, unfortunately, at Chronic Combat, right? Adam and Davila, they couldn't show up. That happens. You're not always gonna have your coach there, but luckily Andrew, the Latin Samurai, and Cabrera, they were able to coach me and help me out throughout my super fight, and I train with them on Sundays and. Super cool dudes. I appreciate them, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds, man. I got a lot to look forward to, and it's gonna be a fun journey.
Yeah, man, we've got a nice long career coming up for you, and this goes into my last question because I know it is super early in your career. But when you've rolled the mats for the last time in competition, and you're done with it, it's over. You're really grateful for the journey that you've been on so far. What would you like your journey to be in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically?
Like what I want people to remember about it?
Yeah, what would you like them to remember about your career, or what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I just want people to, it's hard to say, because it is mad early. I'm still going to be doing jiu-jitsu until like I drop that or I can't physically do it anymore. But I just want people to just remember to have fun with it. Don't always take it seriously. You got to keep it as something that you love to do. Don't do jiu-jitsu if you're forced to do it or something that you don't want to do anymore. You should train because you love to train, right? Not because you have to train. And I just want people to know, just play your game, man. Do your thing. Go out there, compete. Even if you haven't competed ever, do one local tournament. There's always local tournaments going on, and just try it out. It's gonna change your life. Doing my first tournament compared to now, like it really changed my life for sure. Changed my life for the better. And I just want people to be confident. That's it. Go out there, be confident, do you.
That's dope, man. You speak a lot of words of encouragement, which I love that, brother. There's always someone that we want to push in, and especially with the jiu-jitsu community, we want everyone that comes in to feel like, hey, you're accepted here. We're not gonna shit on you. We're just gonna teach you a little bit. You're gonna learn some shit. You're gonna get your ass kicked.
That's the way I was learned. Yeah, that's the way I was learned, especially in the jiu-jitsu community. Everyone was super friendly to me. I never had any issues. A lot of my coaches were very motivational speaking. They helped me out with my downs and my ups, and it really shaped the person who I am today.
Yeah, man, I could tell because you seem to have a real passion for this, and that's something that's dope. Because not only do you bash competing, but you're Coach Nacho now for the kids. That's always going to be something that sticks with you.
Yeah, and coaching is like I love coaching kids, because you're teaching them what you love the most, and you're helping them shape their future. And then when they grow up and they're doing jiu-jitsu, who are they going to remember? They're going to remember Coach Nacho. Oh, Coach Nacho showed me this when I was 5 years old. So it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling for sure.
Absolutely, man. So again, I want to say thank you for your time. Bash came on the show with us. He was in the goddamn room. We shared it. He gave us all some guts on there. Told us what it was all about. So thank you to you, Bash, for your time, brother. Thank you to the viewers who are watching at home. Thank you so much for your curiosity. Yes, sir, brother. And we're gonna have to roll soon. I'm going back to Legends soon, so definitely have some time to roll together, see what's going on, and have a blast.
Yeah, bro, please come, man. We've been waiting. I haven't rolled with you yet. Let's get around in.
It's coming, brother. We're gonna have some great rounds.
Let's do it.
And I'm hoping to record it too, so we can update everybody. Like, hey, we did the round. It was a great time. I'm gonna put your IG down in the description. Of course, if you have any competitions coming up, please let us know. Like, go ahead and let the crowd know now. Do you have anything coming up, or is there anything scheduled currently in your competitive schedule?
Yeah, so 2 things coming up. Like I mentioned before, April 20th, Philadelphia, Grappling Industries. I'll be I'm doing just Nogi. I've been doing a lot of no-gi recently. Competition-wise, I don't really compete in gi that much anymore. I just kind of fell in love with no-gi more. Maybe I'll do gi again in the future, but for now, I'm focusing more on no-gi. So April 20th, no-gi Grappling Industries in Philadelphia. Can't wait for that. May 18th, possibly another Chronic Combat match. I think that's going to be in Brooklyn, I believe. So in a few weeks, hopefully I find out who my opponent is, and I'll send you guys the info. Hopefully you guys come out and watch. That'll be super dope. We'll get the team out there, get everybody out there, have a good time. And
Yes,
that's what I got the next 2 months. Actually, also June 1st, we're doing Grappling Industries in Newtown, Connecticut. We got the whole Legends team coming out there. We like to get the Legends guys, the whole team out there once every few months. So I think a lot of the guys from Legends are competing in that one. So that'll be dope. We'll get the whole team out there.
Oh yeah, June 1st, you heard it. Heard all the dates. April 20th, May 18th is a potential Chronic Combat, and June 1st. So if you don't know, go ahead and head over to Grappling Industries or Smooth Comp. You can see where the competitions are in your local area. If you want to compete, if you want to go spectate and view, you can also do the same thing. They will tell you how much the spectators tickets cost. Not very expensive. It's not something that goes too out of pocket. It's not
$15.
It's a very fun time, and it's a great time for everyone to go. Yeah. So we definitely want to get more people to watch the sport as well. So for those of you at home, thank you again for your curiosity. Thank you for your time. And of course, we'll link everything in the description of the video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can get this on the road and also help the show monetize and get more exposure for our guests. Bash, again, brother, thank you for your time. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, my brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Have a great one, brother.
You too, bro. Peace.
Peace.